Good morning. I hope you're doing okay today. Lance and I are back on Let's Talk CX Zambia. And Lance had a very interesting conversation with Cheryl. And yeah, he's going to tell us about that. And I learned a lot from it.
Thanks, Harriet. Hi, everybody. Apologies for the long wait between episodes. Life happens, unfortunately. But we really wanted to get another episode in. And I did interview Cheryl. She's the MD of Core Lab here in South Africa. And the premise of this discussion was really to understand how her and her leadership team deals with the stress levels that the frontline staff generally goes through on a daily basis. And so in our last episode, we were speaking about how the agents can deal with stress. And in this one, we want to look at, from a leadership perspective, what should the leaders of our call centers and contact centers do in order to assist our frontline staff in dealing with that stress? Welcome, Cheryl Paarwater, to Let's Talk CX. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I love how you say my surname, by the way.
Cheryl is the managing director of Core Lab here in South Africa. Thanks for spending some time with me, just chatting about contact centers and CX in general.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let's get right into it. So let's get a little bit of knowledge about Cheryl. How long have you been in this game of BPO and call centers, or contact centers?
Well, I'm relatively new to the BPO industry. Always been in customer service, but the BPO sector as such, only for the past 4 years. Okay. And it came from a requirement that we had on our analytics side of the business. We have a utility management company where we've got customers with prepaid electricity meters all over South Africa. And the customer service requirement on that side of the business became a lot. It's basically to the extent where my cell phone became a mini call center.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any systems, processes, or nothing in place. I was storing, my CRM tool was my brain. And because I'm so passionate about delivering, like really good customer service, I realized I was dropping the ball more often than not, forgetting to get back to people or having to call them back to ask them what was
your brain can only handle so much, eh?
Yeah, no. Apparently, I wasn't as fantastic as I thought I was. So when I realized my limitations, I needed to look at like how do I actually was having coffee with a friend, and I said my phone kept on ringing, and I said to her that I feel like a call center, and her response was, why don't you start one? So that was towards the end of 2018, and I went and, like we do, to go and ask a friend. And my friend's name is Clint Brink, and I asked him, help me, we need to set up a service desk. I should have outsourced at this point, like normal people would, because there's experts out there that you can outsource to, like Core Lab. But I am a bit of a control. Yeah, no, sorry. I have to use the opportunity when I can. I'm a control freak, so I felt like nobody could do it the way we can or I can. Sure. And we set up the service desk with 4 people. This was in January 2019. And one of our clients, who has an e-commerce platform, an online payment platform for bill payments, they then saw what we were doing with the service desk, and they asked us to take over their help desk function. And then all of a sudden, we sat with a staff complement on this new division, which we then named Core Lab, of 20 people. And then we realized this is actually an outsourcing business.
Yeah.
Clint joined us full-time at that point in time as our head of operations. And then we got our brand new offices in Woodstock, and we were ready to take over the world. And then COVID happened.
Yeah. I hear that often.
And then at the time we were 28 people, and we were, let's just look after what we have. Let's not do anything crazy now. Let's not take any risks. Let's just look after the business that we have. So we also used that horrific time that we had in the world as a time to just look at what we have in place, because like it was sort of like a pause. And So we built onto our CRM tool, which is our own bespoke tool that we had developed.
So out of your brain, essentially, you put it down onto a system that is now functional within 100%. The context of technology. Nice.
And then just so coincidentally, I also named it Nucleus because it came from my brain.
Okay.
And then yeah, then we also then changed telephony platforms during that time. I moved over to the Connex One telephony platform. We started building more on our omni-channel solution.
Yeah.
And then we managed to also grow during that time. It was very organic and it was slow, but there was growth.
Nice.
So when we moved back to the office for the first time, because the office wasn't ready when COVID hit, we were still waiting for our fiber. It was installed 2 days before the president said we had to stay at home. So what was also amazing was just the work from home offering that we managed to put in place. And the challenge of and during that time was obviously just to keep our team, just to keep that, because we were such a small, close-knit family when we were all at the office and we were together, and you know, you could see what people looked like, whether they were having a good day or a bad day. And then and like I mentioned before, I am a bit of a control freak and also suffer from the fear of missing out. So I like to know what is happening in people's lives, and that was taken away from me. So I had to get really clever with how do we engage with, you know, like everybody else, we had to figure out how to best communicate and to make sure that we still have that connection with the people that were working from home. Yeah, and in the process, because your first question was like, how long have I been in this industry? In the process, I've completely and utterly fallen in love with this BPO sector. It has, I found this marriage between this passion that I've got for creating meaningful jobs and marrying that with delivering customer service and, you know, like really, really having an impact on people's lives. And we spoke about this before we started this interview process, the economy of this country. And that is what the BPO sector can do for any country, is really just have a very positive impact on the lives of the people and ultimately on their pockets, which then has a positive impact on the economy as a whole.
And I think that's a good segue into where I really want to go with this conversation, which is around the people and the impact of their lives, but how their lives are impacted by what we do as a business, BPO, contact centers, dealing with customers on a daily basis. There's a level of stress that comes into play that I think is overlooked sometimes. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation with a business leader that understands that there's a people element to the business. And I guess for me, it's about how do you as a leader understand, first of all, the stress levels that your frontline team is going through? Because, well, maybe I should backtrack a little bit and ask you the question, do you think that there are stress levels within your particular environment that your frontline team goes through?
So, yes, there is stress because, you know, that's normal. I think in any work setup, you should have an element of stress. The question is whether that stress becomes distress, because distress leads to disease. I think there's a link there somewhere, but actually go Google it. But
I like that, whether there's a link or not. It makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think it does, because we know what stress does to the body. But I also know from my personal perspective that if I don't have a little bit of stress, there's also, you know, there's like tomorrow's another day. So it has its place and it can be healthy. It's just that very fine line between it becoming distress. We all have our own personal stresses and things that come into play from time to time. And because you know that, right, from your own personal perspective, why would you not understand that from the person that reports to you when they're having an off day? Or understand just that, you know, it's not just the there's more to everybody than just that little interaction that you've had. And that you need to just be mindful of how you react to this person and what you are getting from them. Just to come back to the challenge as we are growing is to ensure that the team that is working with me, that they understand what my expectation of them are, what that is, and then hopefully they buy into it. And up until now, I can say that we've been really, really blessed in that aspect, because it's like our team looks at how Clint and I, how we interact with each other, how what we give them, because normally that is what happens, right? The team leader who is being hard on the agent is hard on the agent because somebody else has probably been hard on them. So they are being driven by certain metrics and performance and KPIs and being asked hard questions. And then they just go downstream and they, basically just replicate that behavior that they've experienced. So it's so important for us to have as a leadership. And, the leadership thing is also, I struggled with the whole concept of leadership because I feel like everybody in our business are leaders. You are a contact center agent. They are in their domain. They are, that's what they're doing, and they're doing it to the best of their ability. And if they act like a leader in their role, then the output of that is going to be so much better. But if we have this top-down approach and we treat the people who are doing the actual work on a daily basis as if they are just commodities and just numbers, then why are we surprised if the churn is so high that we can't keep our people, that they are demoralized and demotivated and they don't want to come to work? We spend so much time at work. We have to love what we're doing.
So how do you then, as your team of executive leaders in the business, make that known to your frontline staff? What do you guys do to help the frontline staff, first of all, feel like they are leaders? Like you've just said, they are leaders. We've got we're very notorious for the hierarchy within contact centers, right? So it's very notorious within our industry. And I like what you're saying. I think it's an important point. The question I have though is how do you take what you know, think, and feel, and transfer that to the rest of the staff that works with you? Because only then, I believe, if they buy into it holistically, including the frontline staff, will what you say make sense from an action perspective? Does that make sense in terms of my question?
100% it makes sense. So interesting for me is that so I started with a EMBA last year, and
good luck with that.
Thanks. Anyway, you just took me to a dark place.
Sorry.
And the interesting thing that I've discovered in this process is how I actually thought that, remember, I started out, I'm an entrepreneur. So we started out as a small business and started the business with my husband, and I made a lot of decisions myself and then just did it and implemented it. And, that's how I worked for years to get to a place where we grew and we have like a executive committee, and we've got a manco, and there's like all of these other people who were not there before, who I thought I was taking on a journey with me. But then I realized I was literally telling them where to sit on the bus, and I was driving the bus myself as well.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting discovery for me. Somebody who thinks that she's so democratic and inclusive and all of those good things, I realized
it sounds quite the opposite.
But But apparently I did it in such a nice way that people still liked me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a skill. That's a skill.
So I had to, about 2 months ago, I had a session with our team, and I apologized, and I said that I've realized that this is what I've done. But I think it was, it was part of the process where it was, an entrepreneur, small business, moving into actually being a real company with proper structures and really good people around me with fantastic ideas. And not just ideas that they can't implement, they're also capable of implementing the ideas.
Sure.
So that was a discovery that I made for myself, and I expressed my disappointment in myself to the team, and I said
that must have been hard, but well done to doing that.
Yeah, I'm growing up, and they didn't really tell me that is what they experienced, but maybe that is the discussion that they had afterwards when they went for drinks. But
and they didn't invite you to that discussion.
I could just quickly pop in, and then I gave them time to. Anyway,
okay.
so if you have a group of people who you are able to infect with your vision, and our vision is to create meaningful job opportunities for the youth of South Africa. And our motto, which was my motto, and I'd like to think now it's our motto, is to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Okay.
And the other mantra that I have is to treat other people the way I want to be treated. Nice. And I don't feel like asking this team to go on this journey with me and to buy into these values is a bridge too far, because I feel like as humans, that is what we should all be doing, right? That's why we are here, to make a difference, to have an impact, and to just treat people kindly, right? Yeah. So I genuinely feel that the people that I've surrounded myself with, or the people that have gravitated towards us, are actually sharing in those goals and that vision, and feel part of it.
So what you're describing to me is somebody that has the ability to take a vision and influence the people around them to follow you with that, or in that vision. Now, that for me spells out leadership. It spells out somebody that can influence and lead people, and you're not pulling them, they are following you, right? So there's a leadership skill, if you want to call it that, and certainly maybe even just an innateness about who Cheryl is. My question, though, is that's great to do that, but on a day-to-day, when an agent is stressed out on the phone because they've got customers screaming down their throat, one after the other, what as the team, from a support perspective, helps that one agent support them in getting through that level of, I guess, discomfort for their day? Because like you said, when stress becomes distress, it potentially equals a disease, right? And too much of that is going to impact their lives physically.
Yeah, and I think this is where I was going with the problem.
Okay.
So the problem of all of these wonderful ideas and this wonderful, like shared mental model of how we operate is that we need to equip our team leaders so that they are able to help those agents who are in those situations. Nice. Because we also have a very, very young team of leaders, and they were agents before, and most of them were agents before. 95% of them were agents within our business that we nurtured and we grew, and now they became team leaders, and we've got 2 amazing contact center managers. And but the problem is, and this is a problem that we have identified in our business, is that although they have the right mindset and the right heart set to lead the team the way that we would like to lead them, I need to do more to give them the other skills, the hard skills that they need as well. So that is why we are launching our Leadership Academy soon.
Nice.
And that is just going to just be there to give our team all of the tools that they need, but then also to start nurturing our next generation leaders, because like I told you, they are there already, and I don't want to lose them because I don't have the work right now to put them in those leadership positions. So let's start upskilling them in the meantime.
Nice.
So when the thing through, then they can move into those positions. Apart from our team leaders who need to be supportive and take on more of a mentoring and a coaching role with our team, with our agents, instead of, the top bottom management type of a style. I would also like to think that our agents, when they are dealing with those difficult customers, even though it's like, sometimes it can become too much, but in general, just having that sense of empathy as to what is happening in the customer's life, just like we try to understand what is happening in the agent's life. The person on the other side of the call is also just a human being who's having a really bad day.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to take it personally and to have empathy. We do have, I can think of a couple of like incidents where team leaders who come to me and say, like, one of our agents just had the most horrendous phone call, and when I listen to it, I'm shocked at how sometimes customers can think it's okay to speak to somebody like that. One of our girls, I like immediately said, "Get off the phone, you're going for a mani," because
nice.
I was like, no, you can't continue today. That was just too much. So we can't, in the QA process, we will pick up if there's there's certain things that's continuously happening. Are the agents then becoming like really short with these customers? I'm for lack of a better word, I can't think of a word than rude.
It is a good word.
Yes. Are they still dealing with it professionally? Because we still have to make sure that we protect the brand of our clients, so we can't retaliate. We've had some, because we've got like clever people who are dealing with these calls. I can see how they sometimes struggle with the mentality of the person on the other side, but that's not your place to debate whether they are right or wrong.
Correct.
So with lots of coaching and mentoring and training and refresher training, we do get that message across. But at the end of the day, it's about our team leaders who are there to support them. And then also our guys know you don't take abuse from a customer. As soon as you get abusive language, or somebody who is just really unreasonable, you don't have to take it. What you do at that point in time is you say that I will get my manager to give you a call back. So we've also made sure that they understand that that is the process. Sometimes those calls end up with myself or with Clint as well. And for some reason, when a customer ends up talking to a person who they feel is at the top of the ladder, their whole demeanor is different. It is really, really sad. That is the situation.
And often from a practicality perspective, the frontline individual is more competent and capable of dealing with a query
100%.
than what an executive
than what
is.
I am. I can tell you.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Cheryl, in terms of mental health, and that word comes up quite a bit of late. It's been thrown around quite a bit, and I say thrown around flippantly, but it's flippant at all. It should actually must be taken seriously. I think, me being part of this industry for so long, the stresses of an agent and even a team leader for that matter has always been put down to, that's just the job. You've just got to take it. And that's the history, I think, of BPOs, generally speaking, and contact centers, in that your job is to answer queries. And yes, there's some strain, but that's just your job. You need to deal with it. However, I think over time we recognize the fact that because the individual answering that client is so important to the engagement and the experience of that client, it makes sense to take notice of the fact that if there is a mental health issue as a result of the levels of stress that's continuously been thrown at those individuals, that we need to take notice of. Do you think that leaders within this industry should be taking more notice and doing a lot more to assist our frontline staff in dealing with mental health, and not putting it in a place where, oh, it's not our problem? Because I feel it's important for us to talk, to have this conversation.
Look, I mean, have we ever been in a more ridiculously stressful time in like our generation? Never. What people have gone through over the past 3 years has been incredibly stressful. And I think that lots, I mean, in our business, thank goodness we didn't lose anybody personally during COVID, but everybody in our business lost somebody. So you know of that side. We were also really, really blessed and fortunate that we could keep everybody employed. Like I said, we still grew during that time, but in households of our team members, people lost their jobs, and that put on extra strain. There's just been, I mean, in the world is in chaos. Who would have thought in this day and age we will still have 2 countries who are literally at war right now? And all of these things, they add up, and we might not consciously think of it, but subconsciously you can't run away from everything that has been happening around us. So there's been amazing work done over the past couple of years to destigmatize mental health. It's just another health issue like diabetes or high blood pressure. There's nothing to be ashamed about. So people speak more freely about it, which is fantastic. We've got a wellness program that we belong to. So our guys know that there's free counseling available, face-to-face counseling as well if they need it. I've had guys reach out to me and say, I need help. And you know, it's, I'm happy that they know they can talk to us when they do need help. And I'm also really, really glad that we've got the structures in place to give them the support that they need. And then we do wellness days. And at these wellness days, we have a health professional that talks, because it's everything. It's mind, body, soul. And we have conversations around, I mean, we've got some really, our team is currently on a hike, our management team. So they hiking up
why
Table
aren't
Mountain.
you there?
Because I'm talking to you and you're more important.
Wow. Okay. I feel honored. I feel honored.
So, you know, it's we have and what that also just does, apart from the physical side of some of these team leaders, I hope they get to watch this. They don't do enough physical exercise, and they get it from me all the time. And I see them eating those unhealthy meals or the fast foods, and they know I'm like on their case. But
like
you know,
mommy.
it's like, I feel like that. When we have these wellness days, people are shocked when they hear what their blood pressure is like, and like, why? But and then I can see the change in behavior. So it's you know, just keeping that top of mind at the end of the day, pardon the pun. But the mental health side of it it's hugely important. And it's not something that, I mean, I talk to the guys about meditation and like, oh, you know, like you can't, the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? So if you're complaining to me and you're saying I'm tired, shame, they already know this. like this, I'm tired. I'm like, when last did you do any exercise? You know, because I know what the workload is, and we're trying to manage the workload to make sure that it's not something that you know will overwhelm you. But if you don't have the other structures and things in place, if you're not exercising, if you're not eating right, if you're not taking time for yourself and just doing some self-care, then even a little bit of work will feel like a lot of work. So it's I would love to think that in our organization, and I really, really, really sincerely hope that as we grow, we don't lose sight of this. We never should lose sight of how important our people are, and that it's only because of the people that we are where we are, and that we have a business and that we can deliver a service. But our people need to be in a mental state of mind where they are able to do their jobs. They need to be physically fit so they can do their jobs. They need to feel good so they can, so that conversation that they're having over the phone can translate on the other side as coming from a person who is actually in a good place. So you cannot, for the love of money, don't know why I said that, you cannot ignore the importance of the whole person. So we talk about this often. We can do a lot more in the space. We're very mindful of that, and that it's a constant thing, and keeping it top of mind. And you know, and it should just be part of our DNA that that the people aspect is more than just the numbers. The people aspect is the person as a whole.
I think you've summed it all up very nicely in exactly what you've just said. So thank you. I could talk about this topic all day. And I think it's an important topic and an important discussion. But I think you've just summed it up nicely, that it's the whole person that we need to consider, not just the person that is sitting on the phone answering questions and looking at their stats in order to understand if their performance validates who they are. And I think that's an important message that we need to start really driving through this industry, because very often, especially BPO, we are guilty of that. So thank you, Cheryl Paarwater.
Well,
I appreciate your time and your insights. It's been really valuable, I think, and there's a lot, I think, in it, and I think it's something that we really need to, like I said, continue in terms of the discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate it.